Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Flight Path, your once-a-week podcast for all things Tern. I'm Brad, hosting today in place of David, who's normally here. He's still on vacation, being his best CEO self, just abandoning us all for a week here. But we're doing okay without him. But we have two super special guests this week. We have another David here, David Tilley, who some of you might have met at our users conference. His first day basically was on a cruise ship with us. He's making his, we'll say, second debut here for the people. And Ursula's back again this week. And we've got a ton of fun stuff to jump into. Of course, making lots of progress on all things Tern and have plenty of new things to share. But before we get into that, just a little reminder for people, we do have a webinar coming up next Tuesday. This is going to be a little different than past webinars because this is not a product launch webinar. We're not necessarily launching new features, but we're giving everyone a peek behind the curtain of how we're thinking about our vision for really the next 5 years and a little zoomed in version of the next 6 months. We did this at our users conference, and the feedback was so great. People were like, everyone needs to see this. Y'all really need to do a webinar. Making it happen next Tuesday. If you haven't already registered, go to just our website, tern.travel. There should be a big pop-up that comes up asking you to register and fill out your registration details. Even if you can't make it for that specific time, register anyways. We'll send you the recording. And then the one other little housekeeping thing before we get into it is that if you're new here or if you are deciding you're enjoying Flight Path enough that you want to stay updated, we definitely recommend subscribing on whatever podcast platform of your choice you use. And give us those likes, the comments. I learned today that while this is David's first time joining the podcast, he's apparently been commenting and juicing our numbers for the last couple of weeks. So thank you, David, as always, for your support, and so excited to be here with you. And with all of that, let's turn it over to David. David, how are you? How was your week? Tell the people who you are.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad, and thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Week's been going pretty well. I'm 1 month in now as a Tern employee. Very exciting. Yeah, the first week I was on the user conference cruise, which was an amazing whirlwind of a week, kind of onboarding while also learning with the users about the product in real time and getting to get a lot of FaceTime with users and the team for the first time. But yeah, this week also has been fantastic now too. I'm a product manager at Tern, working very closely with Molly and Jade, also other product managers, and then also very closely with Ursula, who's a designer, working very closely with our group too. So Tern's kind of grouped into subsections of PMs and designers and engineers. So Molly's kind of grooming me into a certain squad to get things rolling. So this week has been good. I'm on squad 1, and we're focusing on a lot of features around advisors and making sure that they're having a great experience, coming up with new features that make their lives easier and better. So this last week, we have a roadmap of things we've been working on. But I think in review, specifically agency dashboard has been something we've been working on before I even joined, and I'm kind of coming in now and trying to help move it along too. And that's something that has launched this week, which is very exciting too. So, if you are an agency owner or an admin now, you'll see additional tabs on your home screen dashboard. You can click over to them now, and you'll see specific dashboards to your agency, and you can see all the cool features and graphs related to the work you've been doing. I know this has been asked for a long time and has been talked about at the conference that it is to come, and it has come. So excited to have people interacting and seeing that for the first time.
It's fun when we split into squads, we're like, okay, your focus for Q4, squad 1 is like individual advisor features for the most part. Squad 2's got agency level. And the first feature you get to launch is agency dashboard. We're already breaking the rules, but not everything falls into perfect categories. We have lots of stuff to get done. All right, Ursula, how are you doing? How was your week?
Great. Yeah, so very excited to see the agency dashboard roll out. Even though dashboard is live, there's always more dashboard tweaking we've been doing. Yesterday I nerded out a bit, so I'm just going to share that nerdery. I was working on, so we had the list component, which is like the thing that you see repeated on the dashboard for recent forms. It's got the same shape. It's got like a title and it's got some little chips at the end. And at the very beginning, it has an icon, which for the first time, we're using a little light background behind the icon. It's very beautiful in my mind. And so last night I went to a concert. I went to see Rilo Kiley, and she had these backdrops of these beautiful lights that could change colors, and they had variations in colors. So sometimes they were very light and sometimes they were very bright. And the whole time I was like, oh, I was doing this today. I was making all the colors of the shaded icons, and here they are live, shaded icons. So it was a real timely nerdery, and it was a great show.
This is how dedicated our design team is here at Tern. Is they get inspiration in real time and bring it back into the product like same day. You're at concerts literally trying to get inspiration for color gradients of different parts of the product. It's pretty cool.
I saw some violet up there. I'm thinking about it.
I had this whole thing planned where I was like, oh, the designers are taking over Flight Path today. Because, I mean, fun fact, David also used to be a designer. So I don't know, maybe we have some other designer nerdery things planned, or they will come up throughout the rest of the pod. Or we've never said pod. Okay.
Design takeover.
Yeah. And then on my side, but my two main focuses this week were on an integration with a partner. We still haven't officially said their name at all. We're kind of wrapping up a first iteration of this integration to help make some, what we'll say, like make some more content easy to pull into Tern. And it's just been really fun digging into that and seeing kind of the really cool opportunities there. We'll probably talk more about that even at the webinar on Tuesday if I already don't have you hooked. And then the other thing I'm spending a lot of my time on is more like implementation work. As Tern continues to grow, we have more and more individual advisors, small agencies, or like some larger and larger agencies now who want to move their entire business over to Tern. And what we've heard from everyone is like, that can be a bit of a chore when you're like thinking about all of your, whether it's data or content you have on other platforms. So kind of have a strike team of people who this is their entire focus these days is like, how do you help people move to Tern, and how do you make sure it's as easy as possible to get set up and hit the ground running? So as always, been working on some of those things as well. But
Cool.
That's what we've been working on. Let's talk about what's actually new and live and things people can already start using. And we'll come back to what David was already talking about with the agency dashboard. So you mentioned this, David, there's some new tabs at the top of the dashboard if you're an agency admin. But what else is there that people should know?
Yes. Yeah. So I think everyone's kind of been used to now like their own home version of the dashboard. So I think there's been the kind of some core components and graphs. And we're starting kind of with some of the most important ones we've seen requested for, and we'll continue to add to these pieces. But on the top now, you'll see some of your core components that you can see the different graphs and interactions sorted by month or by year. Also, too, it's helpful just to see things that we're still working on. There was a part of this, too, which was like the payments due section. And I think during some of the testing, too, we're seeing that section specifically was taking a bit longer to load than what we're excited about. And we had kind of gotten to the day of like, today's the day to launch this, and then multiple folks testing. And I think I was kind of watching my timer as I'm watching it load and thinking, it's at like the 6 or 7 second load time, and understanding from a user's perspective, at what point would you think that this isn't working? How long would you be waiting for? Trying to understand different agencies that have different amounts of data and how much longer or shorter it would be taking. We decided as a team, let's actually pause that widget specifically based on that load time until later we're doing a full payment migration. And at that time, I think that a lot of different pieces are going to be faster around payments. So it's kind of like we're going to launch the whole thing and let's decide to hold back certain parts that might be holding back the experience. So I think I'm seeing at Tern too, we do launch and iterate very quickly. We are launching things every single week, but still it's cool to see at what points do we still have a certain bar of, do we want to launch this feature and not an urgency to rush, but rushing when things are ready. And that was an interesting example to get to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think we talk about this often on the podcast of just like our product philosophy is to try to deliver small pieces of value as fast as possible. And so, well, we could have said, oh, the dashboard isn't ready because this one thing's taking a long time to load. Like, no, look at all this incredibly valuable stuff. People can get their, like these quick stats across their entire agency. They can still see authorizations. They can see trips that are traveling, all this stuff, super easy up front. And then it's okay, like payments isn't there yet. That's all right. We'll like make that its own separate thing and we'll come back to that. And we've also talked on the podcast over the last couple of weeks just about kind of how we'll say slowly we're taking the migration from the past kind of the old payments model to this new model that we released when we did our last webinar. So I lost all track of time. It's been a few weeks now. We're getting to a point where we're closer to doing a bulk migration. And my understanding, David, correct me if I'm wrong, is once we do that migration where everything's on that new payment model, that'll be much easier for us to like load that data quickly on the agency dashboard.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, maintaining the two systems is just, it's causing some load and other issues. But yeah, we want to do it the right way and not just push everything forwards. A little bit of a song and dance here to get it right.
Cool. Okay. And then Ursula, there's some like minor design differences, right, between the agency version versus the individual advisor version of the dashboard. Do you want to walk us through what's different?
Yeah, on the agency level, you're going to be able to see some new cool charts showing commission over the year. Hopefully, those are some wonderful things to see at a glance to judge the health of your agency. And then as you scroll down the page, you're going to see it looks really similar to the individual dashboard. We were really proud to invest in these scalable design patterns. So those list elements with those beautiful shaded icons, more colors coming. When you toggle to that agency view, it looks very similar, but there's a nice tasty chip at the front that says what agent this belongs to. So who is the primary agent on this task? You'll be able to see that at a glance, and we'll continue to invest in those patterns and build more things behind that interaction in the future. But for now, we're really excited that you can see that ownership right away.
Yeah, it's been so cool to see those like design patterns already come to life. They've already been alive, but like see how flexible and extendable they are. And it's like, here's the first version of the dashboard. Oh, where would we put the individual advisor? Well, of course, it's a chip right with the rest of the chips. There's a spot for it. We don't have to like redesign just to add one more piece, one more detail. That's important context, at the agency level that you don't really need at the individual advisor.
Yeah, when Ursula was showing me some of these things too, they are very pleasant too. I think it's a cool to have good design and also super functional as well. It's like these chips, which she calls them a lot, are very beautiful to see, and you recognize them across different pages. And now it's like you click into them and you go right into the spot where you're at. It's like you're going into that traveler specific view. Yeah, there's so many different ways to get to the place you need to go. And I think, what you guys are building as the foundations here are going to be really easy to scale across all parts of the product. It's fun to see them slowly starting to trickle into other pieces.
We're just getting started, but what I really love about chips is there's cognitive load when something is showing you the same information in a different way. And cognitive load is like just a fancy way of saying mental effort, right? Anytime you're seeing a traveler name, where we can throw that little traveler icon at the front, you might be like, I don't care about icons, but you're actually just like less likely to read that information or have to read a thing that says traveler : like if we can get reading in your life, at least as part of our software, so that you can go read elsewhere and enjoy books and things like that. But it'll help you move faster. It'll help you save time. And so as we're thinking about our future of like, how do we make trip planning faster? It's just like, how do we make things more recognizable at a glance so that you can understand exactly what you're looking at without reading anything? And that's the goal for your brain. As little effort as possible.
I love the little backpedal on like, reading sucks. And it's like, well, actually, reading is good, actually, but just not when you don't have.
Exactly. Nobody wants to read Traveler : when they could be reading some epic historical fiction.
Moving on. All right. So then we also, in addition to launching the dashboard for agency admins, we also introduced another feature that's really useful for agency admins, specifically when it comes to paying your advisors. Ursula, tell us what's new.
Oh yeah, let's get excited and talk about the monies. So there's a great moment in everyone's life when they get paid. And it's also a great moment to be the person who tells other people that they're getting paid. That's a wonderful moment too. So if you're in the commission section and you're on the due tab and your things are due and you're about to hit that pay agents button, or if you're on that individuals statement and you're about to hit that pay button, you're going to see a new toggle in that modal. And the toggle says email payout statements to agent. And right underneath, you get to add a little custom note. So if you want to send them a nice little, hi, you're getting paid, or if you want to send them like you're kind of in trouble because you didn't fill this out correctly, we have the home for that now. It's very exciting. And the email subject line says, woohoo, you're getting paid. So it does have a little bit of that fun celebration moment. So the great other thing is that if you have a note that you're writing repeatedly to your agents, we're going to save that very shortly. So not quite live yet, but about to be live, maybe already live by the time you're watching this. That little note is going to be stored. So the next time that you send that email, that note will be exposed to you and you have the option to edit it. But if you have similar phrasing you like to reuse, it'll be right there at your fingertips. So yes, next time you pay your agents, they will be informed in their inbox and they will be very happy to see a little note from you as a result.
And yeah, I think what we've heard from some agency owners and admins is they're like going to a separate tool, going to their email client, copying and pasting the list of all their advisors, emailing them all. And it's like, guys, that's so annoying. Like, we already know who's getting paid. We've got all this detail right here. Like, let's just make it easy for one click for you to get that information.
And on that toggle too, you'll see like a little new purple little badge banner too. So if you're thinking, oh, where is that thing? When you click in that flow that Ursula just described, you'll see that little new thing with details next to it too. So I feel like this team does a good job of like calling out new features even on the product itself too. So even if you're not always listening to this podcast to see the updates, if you're just clicking around in your normal flows, there's a good job of pointing out where the features are to discover them, which is pretty cool.
I love David praising us on this podcast. We should really bring it back more often.
Hired as hype person, just hype us, bring it on.
Yeah, so lots of fun agency things this week. Agency dashboard, we've got the payout emails. And then we also got to work on some more general updates that apply to everyone. So I spent some time this week updating the styles for our itinerary PDFs that you can export. So we've just been getting a lot of feedback from folks recently that's like, hey, it's nice that I can export this as a PDF, but it's kind of embarrassing to send to my clients because like there's lots of, if you have an empty day on the trip for some reason, it just like has a bunch of the day title and like no activities planned, which we've solved in other places like on the mobile app and on the client view of the web app, but we never took those out of the itinerary like the PDF. There's some weird wonky stuff happening before where you might have like the title of a day or just the date that gets like orphaned on its own page. It's like day 1, Paris, France. And then because the content for the activity itself, the first activity was so long, there would be nothing else on that page. And then there'd be like the content on the next. So we work to try and make that happen less often. So now there should be a better use of space, we'll say, and things should fill up a little better. And then just some like general styling and polish things. Ursula and I we explored a few options for how to make it feel a little more polished, but like not boring if we can. So things just probably should feel a little more refined there going forward. But as always, if you have feedback on it, if there's certain things with your specific itinerary that still feel funky, definitely reach out and let us know. There's like some more little tweaking and poking we can do there.
So cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. We joked last week about me stealing Ursula's work husband, Claude, in order to pull this off. And I kind of wrapped it up this week, except for he was being a little bit annoying and was leading me down paths that just didn't make sense. I knew an engineer was going to yell at me if I even tried to share that code with them. So I did have to ignore him and kind of put him away for a bit and be like, Claude, I'll come back to you later. But I'm going to use my CS degree from years ago to wrap this thing up.
Oh man, I've watched a few dozen of these podcasts, and last episode when you guys were riffing on Claude being the work husband and you guys fighting over him was probably the most hilarious moment of like the many episodes I've seen. Just so funny. And Ursula, are you referencing Claude a lot too? And first week here, I thought there was somebody named Claude here. I was looking for them on Slack, and I was like, maybe they're on vacation and they just had their Slack turned off. Yeah. But yeah, now I know Brad, they're close too. So it's good.
Yeah, we fight a lot too, Brad. It's not just you fighting with Claude. I think that's why we call him the work husband and not like a co-worker, because we're just always...
There's that part of the relationship needs to...
Yeah, there's like a nagging aspect where I'm like, you're not doing it right. Try it again. That I would never do with either of you.
Just your partner. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, just your husband.
Love it. Okay, so those are kind of like the big hero features that we're launching this week. Well, actually, I should couch this for a second. Talked all about the PDF stuff. It's technically still in review. An engineer was like, this looks good. I need to finish reviewing it. If it isn't out by the time this podcast comes out, it should be coming out very early next week. But I think we're close. So it might already be there by the time you're listening to this. With that said, now we'll move on to one of our recurring sections, which is our quality of life updates. And those are just, the maybe smaller things we've done this week to make the product easier to use or easier to understand. And Ursula's got the first one on this list.
Yeah, let's talk about folders again. I know we were betting when the last time would be that we would talk about folders on the podcast. We got one more. And it was that when you were moving an item in a folder and there were no additional folders to move the item to, you got sort of stuck in this weird loop where you could click in. And so we just noticed we were missing an empty state there that says, hey, there's no folders. Nice try. So that's what we're doing for V1. And one day we're going to come back and make sure you can create a folder from that view. But for now, we had time only to show you that this is actually empty and not an action that could happen. So we recommend making a new folder, and then you won't see that state anymore.
Nice. And then the other quality of life improvements, the first one that we have is related to the calendar. So at the users conference, we showed after our little like shipathon that we called it, that you can now kind of export your calendar, like sync it to whatever calendar app you use, whether it's like Google Calendar or Outlook, those things. And you could do that. There's like a little button on the calendar page to get a link that you put in your calendar tool. Almost immediately after we launched it, people were like, hey, this is cool, but I don't care about, whatever it is, anniversaries, birthdays. There's certain things like, I don't want this on my calendar. Can you please make it go away? And good news for you, we've found a way to make it go away. Basically, the way this works now is if you have filters applied on your calendar already within Tern, if you're hiding certain things, when you copy that link then and go to sync it to your Google Calendar, those preferences will be respected. So whatever, my understanding is whatever things were hidden at the time when you grabbed that link from Tern, those same things will end up hidden on your calendar. If you already did this before, I think you might need to do this again. You'll delete the one you previously synced and copy a new link so that the right kind of filtered view comes through. David, Ursula, anything up there? Is that your understanding as well?
Okay. Super helpful. I think we all can empathize with that experience too, syncing a calendar and having a bunch of weird holiday things. You're I don't want all these extra filters. Please get these out of here. So yeah, I think hugely beneficial for folks. I'm going to start seeing that right now.
Okay, perfect. And then the other small little thing, this might even be considered more of a bug fix. Within the analytics tools we rolled out, we realized we had some minor calculation challenges for when you had packages. So sorry, the price of a package that's priced per person, and you didn't have all of the people on the trip in the package, and I should say more P words, but that was just off a little bit, and someone flagged it as a discrepancy. You're able to look into it and resolve that. So now that calculation will be correct. Any packages that are priced per person and not all the people on the trip are in the package, it will only show the price for the relevant number of people. But yeah, that's that one. So that's kind of the summary of the big things, the little things, all the stuff that we shipped. That's not all we did this week, though. As always, we're getting things live, but also working on stuff that will be coming next week. So with that in mind, I'm going to throw it back to David to talk about some of the stuff coming up next week.
Let's do this. I was going to piggyback on the last part too, Brad. I think some of these quality of life improvements, I think a big shout out to why these things are possible is because the Tern users are on the platform, looking at things, wanting things to be better, helping us be better. And I've been at many companies before that the users and the company don't feel super connected. It feels like we're trying to get feedback from users and trying to have conversations. And this is just immediately something's broken, something issues coming. The Tern users are so passionate. And I think, the reason those quality of life features that I've seen in the last few weeks come so fast is because the users are just right there and excited to help and point out things that oh, this thing's broken, or this thing could be better. And it's it just makes the road mapping so much easier of new features, and also what are people asking for? And y'all are power users too and have a high bar for things. Yeah, I think that last example too of the analytics piece, it's it would have taken our team a long time to maybe discover some of these broken features, but when there's thousands of Tern folks out there, it's every little bug gets surfaced and then fixed same week. So cool to see in real life not being on the team. But yes, moving on. You said next week, what's coming up? What's going down? Something that Molly kind of started talking to me about when I first joined was that a lot of folks, advisors, have been asking for a feature called global search, that there was searching in some capacities of the product, maybe within the trip, a couple other more focused areas, but there was a need for a global search, a desire, a demand for a global search where you were on any page and you wanted to find something. You're oh, how do I find that thing? I had to go find the category of that thing and then maybe search if it's available within that page. Kind of my first task was review lots of canny posts and requests for people asking for features around. So I was searching global, searching trip, searching context, searching different keywords around things that people could be thinking about for global search. And then took kind of some of that core feedback and talked to half a dozen different advisors and users, floated things around with the team internally, worked very closely with Ursula on a lot of designs, worked very closely with a lot of the engineers on what would be feasible to include in this first package of global search. And I think also a really cool Tern thing is too, is fast iteration. So a true global search could be you could go to search and type in anything across any part of the product and it's going to be instant and perfect. That's cool. But that might take weeks or months to build. What are maybe the core pieces people say would change their lives today and save hours this week? And the clear winners kind of the conversations were searching across trips and searching across contacts and being able to cross search between those two. So being able to, in this new global search V1, which we're working on and hoping to launch something probably in the next week or two. I think I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but probably in the next week or two would be that combination of trip and traveler combination. So you could search, Molly Johnson, and then it would find the contact in this top search, but then also find trips related to Molly Johnson. So depending on how the advisor is thinking, if they're thinking about the trip name or thinking about the confirmation number or thinking about the traveler, thinking about maybe they have a phone number for a traveler or an email for a traveler. What are the core things that you're trying to quickly reference to find a trip or find a contact? And I think we've heard from a lot of the advisors we've talked to that those two pieces done well will solve roughly 80% of the use cases for a global search. So Ursula has been, a ninja with some amazing designs on how this can be really intuitive and obviously bring in maybe some chips or snacks or all the cool things that she references. And then Spencer on Squad 1 and Kayla and Dalvin have been working really hard on like the brains behind this too. So yeah, we're excited about finding what's helpful, finding the need. Ursula and folks working towards the greater vision of like what's the grand global search, but giving users what they are asking for now to save that 80% or solve the 80% use case. And that's something we're very excited about getting ready and launching the next week or two.
It's going to be so hype. I'm glad you mentioned the chips too. I was like, I think people are going to see, they're going to see the search box and be like, oh, this feels like Ursula. Like Ursula's got her hands all up in here.
She's here.
Cool. And then, yeah, I know you're also working on some other stuff next week around like cleaning up the traveler preferences on the like intake forms, which we can maybe talk about more when it's live, but maybe just noting that we got that feedback. We're working on it, and hopefully some updates there soon. And then I'll throw it over to Ursula to talk about what she's doing next week.
Well, one of the great things about being a designer is you get to sprint way ahead in some moments in time. So I'm doing that now, working on one of our big mantras lately is, how do we make trip planning 10x faster? And so that's a lot of X's. So how do we do it? And the answer is it's a mix of things, right? One of it is injecting something like AI and having more structured data. And our first foray into this is making the PDF parsing better so that more things that you import are extremely well imported into our system. So that's going to be one little baby step. But the big steps are going to be things like big design changes. So getting you to those things that you need to know faster visually. Hint, it's going to be chips. Chips everywhere. Yeah, I'll put chips everywhere. So what does it look like when we do have the chips everywhere? How do they interrelate to each other? And then on a broader level, what can we even do here? It's, 2025. There's so many different things that have suddenly become available that could be applied to trip planning. And so it's really fun to think about all those things. So I'll just tease you with that little tidbit, but we'll be back in the coming weeks with more little pieces of that. So very exciting times.
So I love I'll be back. Just already inviting yourself back on the podcast to talk about it later. We'll have to see if you fit in the schedule, who's around.
I mean, the podcast. I'm officially only invited these 2 times and may never be invited back. But my designs will be back.
Only when the CEO is out does the designers get to go crazy. Yeah.
Well, if you want Ursula to come back, you want David to come back, like in the comments, maybe give them a little shout out. Tell us that you want more, or if you're like maybe don't. Just if you don't want them back, don't say anything. Keep whatever. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Apply that here as well. All right, and then to wrap us up, we're just about at the 30-minute mark. For me next week, we have another webinar. I mentioned it maybe a couple times on Tuesday. So, we're going to be focusing on that, making sure that is great, and we can make sure we're communicating the vision we have for 2030 in the next 6 months. Well, we did this at the users conference with like 100 people. We're like, oh yeah, this is good for an audience of 100. Now I think there will be thousands. So might need to rework some of it and get it all going. And then I'll be spending some more time also on kind of the integration partnership that we've been hinting at a little bit. It's quite possible the first version of that is actually live next week, and we can talk about it on next week's podcast. But we'll talk more about what it's like working with external partners and why integrations can be challenging. But it's even harder for us to predict when that will go live, because it's not just up to us. It's also up to our partners of like when they're ready and when they feel confident and comfortable. So more to come there. But that's our show for this week. That's Flight Path for whatever week this is in October. And yeah, we'll be back next week. I think David and Molly will both be back. So you have your normal crew. But again, if you want Ursula and David Tilley around, let us know. And happy to have some extra guests, or just like can replace me sometime. It'll all be good. But yeah, with that, thanks for joining us, everyone. And we will see you soon.
See ya.